This is just the best part of my day.
Nope, scratch that. Reverse it.
My grandma and your grandma sitting by the fire. My grandma told your grandma, I'm gonna set your flag on fire. Talking about hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. I go one day. Oh, Jacques Finane, Jacques Finane. Look at my king all dressed in red. I go one day. I bet you $5 he'll kill you dead. Jacques Finane. Talking about hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. I go one day. Oh, Jacques Finane.
Hallie and I have been together for so long that it feels weird to say girlfriend because we've been together for over 7 years.
Bae before anyone else.
And then you end up being one of those guys that says partner, and it kind of gives you this queer clout.
Partner, it feels better because it's like, she's my life partner and everything.
We also are domestic partners, so I think there's an argument for it's a shorthand.
But I think that primary is going to replace partner.
Oh God.
Well, when I talk to I'm going to
talk
primary. I'm going to talk to my student who's in the fourth grade.
It sounds like you're talking about going to the doctor. It sounds like your primary care physician.
My student who's in the fourth grade is...
Why don't you call me your doctor?
Now we're talking.
Yeah, doctor.
Your mother would be so proud.
Dr. Halley, honestly, I know you don't hold a medical degree, but if you said I'll operate on you, I'd go, yeah, sure.
All right. In a pinch.
Again, if my shit falls through.
She's my primary care partner.
I think I would rise to...
But you have to imagine all of the weird, gunks and goos and squishies that are inside of there.
Right, but
the gunks and goos and squishies.
But that's the thing, I hate that stuff, but I love that stuff. That's the abject.
That's the abject. Sorry, yeah. I'm on the Prêt-à-Porter IMDb page. That's what I'm doing over here. Really bad poster on the IMDb page.
I'm just gonna write it out as I normally
100%. Absolutely. I just feel like as the co-host of this show, I feel a slight amount of due diligence, but not too much.
The IMDb synopsis is much better than the Wikipedia synopsis. I was watching it yesterday
because the Wikipedia synopsis requires there to be fans of this movie who want to maintain it.
Also, the Danny Aiello character doesn't appear at all in the Wikipedia synopsis.
I'm pissed.
I actually think his character is very compelling, with the exception of the unfortunate, kind of punchline.
Yeah.
Which, we can get into when we...
Did you think it was a punchline?
I kind of felt like it was played as a punchline.
Well, we should save it for the...
Listen, we got a
lot
to talk about in this movie. We are recording.
Okay, but save the chat.
Yeah.
I love the shadow play that's going on, though. I love this visual bit of... that Jessi Katz performing for us.
It's an audio format, but my video cam got tilted, and then I was like, this kind of looks like I'm about to do one of those time-lapse crafts for you.
They're doing the can.
Instead of an origami swan, it was just kind of two kind of line kicks.
Yeah, that's kind of all I had. Kind of all I had in my
I think that's good. I mean, who among us is ready to, at a moment's notice, be entertaining with our hands? I'm not. Are you? Anybody? Whoa!
So what Hallie's doing is sort of like a voguing, sort of like a rave. If you can imagine some lights on the fingertips, it would be really
it'd be
captivating.
It'd be sick. Yeah.
Hallie was at her mom's last weekend, was it? Mm-hmm. And I have this light, a reading light by my side of the bed. Cool. And I put it on, and I noticed that it was making a big shadow, and I was playing shadow puppets the whole time.
Oh, that's fun.
And Hallie didn't see any of it, and I haven't showed her since then.
Oh, you'll show me later.
Yeah.
What'd you do? You do the wolf? You do the bunny rabbit?
Okay, I did the wolf. I did a little of... I think this gave me something interesting. I was just making them up.
You were experimenting.
Yeah, I was just making them up.
That's almost like a spider. If you wanted to do a spider, that could be a spider-esque.
I was messing around until I got to the right place.
Absolutely. You were just throwing stuff at the wall,
Yeah.
You were doing a Mike Lee movie. You started with nothing and then slowly,
totally.
You built it up and eventually you'll have a full-length beautiful shadow puppet film.
The last book I completed was a book, Sabbath's Theater by Philip Roth, and the main character is a pervert, but he's also a puppeteer who
Many such cases.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I
the
think
rare combination of
Venn diagram's
pervert
a
and
circle.
pervert.
Yeah. But
Next, you're going to tell me a pervert and an animator. Next, you're going to tell me...
No, I
But
love
his-
puppeteers. I love puppets.
No, of course. And they're
he did
perverts, and I don't
finger
say that
puppets.
derogatorily.
He
Exactly,
did
it's
finger
all love.
puppets. Was like his puppets were his fingers.
Whoa.
And he was always trying to live up to this grand performance of King Lear that he did with his fingers.
Wow.
But he
Which
also
is not
was it-
unlike
was this-
Potter Puppet Pals.
yeah, it
was
was
the
kind of
Potter
giving
Puppet
Potter
Pals.
Puppet Pals.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. Was this man of real or was he of fake?
It's a fictional book.
It's a fictional book. Okay, so there's no real version of this.
I'm so brain rotted when you said reel. I was like Instagram reel. It was available on Instagram. I've been way too.
I'm doing a performance of King Lear across 1,000
No,
Instagram.
no.
But I just love the idea that
Hold-
reality has ceased to exist. Like before we think reality, we think real.
We used to be real, and now we're real.
Yeah, it's because
Okay.
I've been.
the ultimate similar.
I think we're all lovers of the theater here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is a TikTok account that I
Theater.
get all the time that is Sesame Street toys doing scenes from famous plays.
Cool.
Cute.
So Oscar the Grouch's Roy Cohn and Angels of America,
Honestly, the party was born to play.
and Elmo played.
I like having AIDS because he likes stuff that sucks.
And Elmo played Esther Rosenberg.
Oh wow. I can't wait to find this.
It's
That's
a really
really good.
awesome account, and
Sick.
I know we're recording. If this makes it into the
It's going
show,
This is good.
Yeah.
this is my plug. Is I get one plug, and it's for I think it's called Sesame Shakespeare or something on TikTok.
Hell yeah.
It's delightful. I haven't seen a lot of the plays, but
Yeah.
I have
you have
seen
now.
some. But
You've
now I
seen
That
have.
also feels like something that you only need to see a little snippet of. I don't
Yeah.
know if I need to watch the full-length Angels of America done that way.
Well,
I want to see.
I mean, I
wanna see
haven't seen
clips.
Angels of America.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
I
your
haven't
answer.
So my only
That's what I'm
Not
saying,
your
context,
you've
Spark
seen it
Notes.
now.
my only context of Angels in America is Oscar the Grouch going like, "My one accomplishment in life, my great accomplishment in life, sending those commie Jews, Esther Rosenberg, or is it Ethel Rosenberg or Esther Rosenberg?
I haven't seen it either.
No,
Big
but it's a real
Bird
person.
getting like
That
anonymous
Roy-
sex and
You know,
sexual
it's about
part.
the-
You know the
Rosenberg.
Rosenbergs, yeah.
Oh.
Because Roy Cohn was the one who defended the prosecution, and he pushed for the death penalty.
Is that what Angels in America is about?
That is one of many things that Angels do. You haven't
Yeah.
seen it either?
No.
Oh my god, yeah.
Well-
So Roy Cohn is like, I don't know, he's probably like the 5th or 6th lead. But his story is being a huge homophobe who has contracted AIDS.
Because of
and
how gay he is. He's
Because of
also-
how gay he
he's
is. 'cause
exceptionally
he's
gay.
super gay with it. And he is haunted by the ghost of Ethel Rosenberg, who he...
Wait, this sounds like a great show.
Yeah,
Angels in America? Yeah, check it out. It's really good.
It's famously a good show. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was watching this movie the other day, Casablanca. Like, check it out. Like, it's pretty good.
Citizen
This
Kane.
sounds actually really cool.
Yeah, it's sick. I watched it a few years ago when I did like a huge Mike Nichols run, when I was watching like most of his filmography, and I knew
Member.
AIDS. That's the only
Poignant.
thing that I knew about.
Wait, Kat, what did you say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Nichols.
Nichols
Vember,
Poignant.
iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
of
we've
you
got
all.
a name for this as well, by the way.
It's gonna be good.
It's gonna
This
be
feels
good. We'll
clicky.
reveal it later.
Okay.
But yeah, I watched it essentially only knowing AIDS, only knowing like the episode of the other two where they go see a play called like AIDS Play, A Poem in Many Hours.
I have a
And,
famously bad take on AIDS, but continue.
I think it was good.
We got
But it's nothing like what I
No,
thought
no.
it was about, and it's really amazing. And there's a really excellent HBO miniseries that Mike Nichols directed with Emma Thompson and Al Pacino and Meryl Streep and all these great actors. It's really worth checking out. I recommend. That's my plug. Angels in America.
Yeah.
check it out.
Check it out.
And check out the Sesame Street rendition.
Well, yeah, I
Ooh.
was gonna circle back to that one. I think Sesame Street, like the more I think about it, the more I think about how it could be one of our little pieces of our time, like the 20th century, that transcend as time goes on the way Shakespeare did. Do I think Sesame Street is going to be Shakespeare to future generations? I don't know, but it has a good amount of different characters that hit different things. Like, I think Sesame Street and maybe tangentially Muppets will stand the test of time.
Characters.
Sesame Street has managed to stay somewhat vital for 50 years, you know? Like, and I think if you pass the 50-year test, I think you're good. I think you're in.
I think that
Saturday Night Live?
Here's my hot take, and Kat, I want to hear your hot take about AIDS.
Sure.
But my hot take is that Mickey Mouse is boring.
Totally.
Oh, he sucks.
I think
so
Mickey Mouse
boring.
is presented as this like transcendent character, but I think it's just like you could have drawn anything at that moment in time.
Yeah.
Any sort of animation, it would have occupied the same.
Early Mickey
relevance.
is more interesting. He's more of a scamp. He's more of a scoundrel. But, like, these days, like, Donald and Goofy are just, like, clearing Mickey off the board.
What are Mickey's, like, character traits? Like,
Well, he used to be a scamp and a scoundrel. Now his thing is being nice, which is, like, the most boring thing a human being can be. Is
Mickey's,
just, like, nice.
Mickey's
Well, what about a
totally a
mouse?
he-they. Like, that's a
Mickey's a
he-they if
he-they.
I've seen
But
one.
being a mouse is not a fundamental part of Mickey Mouse's identity.
Totally. It's not like eating cheese.
Like, I was getting into
Or is
this
it?
with a friend recently where he said, who is the most famous dog? And he said Goofy. And I was like, Goofy is undoubtedly a very famous dog, but being a dog is not part of Goofy's thing. Like,
He's not chasing bones.
Scooby-Doo is a famous dog. He is a
Totally.
dog. He has dog. Like, Snoopy is a
Dog
famous
down.
dog. Goofy is a famous Goofy.
Goofy's a famous hottie.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Oh my god. What's the name of the pop star in the Goofy universe with that amazing song?
Live
Max of the
Wire?
Sun.
Yeah.
Live Powerline.
Yeah, Powerline.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
such a banger.
Listen to
Do
each
each other's heart.
It's good.
We're not
It's a
going to
banger.
sync that up.
I was on a flight back from Arizona a couple months ago, and I watched Barry Lyndon and a Goofy movie as a double feature
That's
on
great.
the back of an
How did
airplane
Barry
address.
Lyndon? How did Barry Lyndon play on the little screen?
Honestly, pretty
on the
good.
tiny
You know,
screen?
I was locked in. I had nowhere to go, so I had nothing to do but watch the little screen, just as Kubrick intended to be on the smallest screen possible at 480p. That's what people want when they go see Barry Lyndon.
I'm going to introduce you to my mise en scène. This is Huey. He's blind. And this is Prairie. She's anxious. So these are the two cats.
Hi, Huey and Prairie.
Hi, Huey and Prairie.
Enzo might make an appearance at some point. Our foster cat. Where is he? I
Enzo.
can't really
The
move.
kitchen.
I can't really
Enzo.
move my
Is he
head.
still in the kitchen?
My bad take on AIDS is that I think that I was a gay man that died of AIDS in my past life, because when I was like 12, I felt so spiritually connected to the AIDS movement in a way that is confused. Like, I saw Rent and I was like, guys, AIDS was bad. Like, AIDS was so bad. And it sucks that it hurt gay people so much. And I was like such an ally. I was just like down for the cause. I was like, guys, we need to be talking about AIDS because of Rent. And for a while
Well,
I thought,
isn't that the power of art though? That
Yeah,
it introduces you to
sure. I just think it was like a little too unhinged, like a little too.
It was too personal.
Yeah, I was a little too into it.
It struck something deeper than even the songs of Jonathan
struck a
Larson
past
should be
life.
able to hit. Yeah.
I loved Rent. My mom, that's actually a dark comment. I don't know if I want to say.
Well,
My mom, I gotta follow through. My mom refused to watch Rent, even though she knew how much I loved it, because she had so many people she died,
Yeah.
during the AIDS crisis.
Wow. Yeah.
And so she it was too emotional for her. She's like,
Sure.
I can't watch anything about AIDS, But she
Absolutely.
wouldn't watch it.
We watched an AIDS movie for this very podcast, The Normal Heart, which I thought was pretty good. One of the better Ryan Murphy draws.
Definitely. I think because it's an existing play that's very good.
Yeah, and
Similarly,
he
Boys in the
only
Band.
had to put it on screen. He didn't. None of his ideas were in there.
I did watch the entirety of the Ed Gein Monsters thing. That's something weird about me is I hate watch Ryan Murphy's Monsters franchises with a fascination, and then I find myself having finished the whole thing, and that was I don't know
This is
what.
a franchise?
Or it's like a mini series, but his franchise as he follows different serial killers that are queer and brings like a weird empathetic angle to it while also including the most gory fucked up parts of them, and it's called Monster. So he explores the monsters of these, specifically Dahmer and now Ed Gein. And then he does his Ryan Murphy flair where he like has bottle episodes about the various glamorous things attached to each. Like, for instance, he showed there was a big Psycho segment with Alfred Hitchcock that he explored. Yeah, it's very. I don't know why I hate watch these things, but
I love some of the like American Horror Story seasons. I think some of them are like subversive masterpieces.
yeah,
And I do love some
People
Glee.
vs. OJ.
Oh, a lot of Glee.
100%.
Another subversive masterpiece.
Yeah, I really liked People vs. OJ, and then I got kind of into American Crime Story. I gotta say, there are some really good performances in his weird little projects. That's kind of what he's like. His strong suit is getting some really great performers into his projects, some iconic like gay icons, and then pulling them into some interesting performances. But I'm fascinated. My ever growing Ryan Murphy is running a murder cult. I think it's me doing my background research, and then whenever there's new data points, I'm putting together that map.
I mean, sure. When a new Zodiac letter came in, like you had to decode it.
Right,
You had to
exactly.
unpack it.
And I did try to watch like the first 20 minutes of Zodiac, and I was like, I can't focus. This isn't very my thing.
I think Zodiac's good. Not the movie, the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You and Ryan Murphy would probably share that.
It would get along. Yeah, I think the Zodiac was a cool, chill guy.
I've never seen Zodiac
Oh, masterpiece.
or Seven. Those movies are the same
yeah.
thing in my head.
Same
Yeah,
director.
exactly.
Yeah, David Fincher.
I introduced a 20-year-old to Glee for the first time by watching
Wow.
the Rocky Horror episode before he went to see a very tame Rocky Horror, because it wasn't a shadow cast. It was at an AMC, and there were a few
People were sitting politely and watching the movie.
It was very strange. I can say that I was focused. Like, I was pretty locked into what was happening, but occasionally someone would try to, like, do one of those callbacks, and then there would be some grouchy people who did not understand Rocky Horror culture that would complain about it, like, in the bathroom, and I just thought that was really funny.
These people were talking throughout the whole movie.
They were yelling back at the screen.
Yeah, they were like, that was so rude. Like, it was overheard in the bathroom, somebody, like, complaining about the call-in responses. Like, how dare they? How can you
I'm
feel
imagining,
like that?
I agree. I think those people were right. They went to a regular screening of Rocky Horror at the AMC theater. Like, you
wasn't
should be
really-
able to watch that movie without people yelling.
I'm imagining the film forum grandmas that go and
I
hang out,
know.
and they're like loudly eating their sub
Salads.
sandwich. Yeah, their salads.
I think
Out
that
of a
was the
plastic
energy.
bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they didn't check tote bags. I was able to bring in my own snacks. And
AMC employees are not paid enough to check anything. I've snuck so many breakfast sandwiches into matinee screenings. It's crazy. They don't care.
I've been going to the movies for 29 to 30 years. I don't
Wow.
remember how long. Not once has anybody checked if I've brought in any
weapon.
outside food.
Yeah, a weapon.
Yeah,
right?
a weapon, yeah.
Not only did they not find my bacon, egg, and cheese, they did not find, like, the combat knife that I brought with me, right?
do you guys
No,
remember
I-
your first movie? Because this film that we're covering today came out the year that I was born, which makes me think.
Wow.
It came out
Do
the
you
year I was born too, right? It's 94.
94.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
remember your first movie you saw in theaters?
I can't confirm with 100% certainty because, like, this isn't the kind of thing, like, my parents or grandparents were keeping track of. But the first thing that I can remember was seeing Disney's Hercules with my grandparents and one of my siblings who was, like, 2 at the time. And I was, like, 4 or 5 when that movie came out.
What was it?
So I think it was Disney's Hercules.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Bless my soul, Herc was on a roll.
So good.
My first one in theaters, I don't have a memory of it, but my parents told me about it, was The Lion King.
Hell yeah.
Also a good one.
Which, when did that come out? 95?
94, I think.
94,
Yeah,
so
so you were young. You were a little guy.
Yeah, I was 2.
Wow.
My little brother's first was Finding Nemo.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Honestly,
I remember seeing Finding Nemo in theaters. That was good. There's a lot going on there. Mine was the live action Madeline, I think, starring Frances McDormand.
As Madeline?
No, as the nun.
I don't know what mine was. I do know that my first PG-13 movie was Princess Mononoke, and my first R-rated movie, I believe, was The Jerk.
That's a good one.
But like, assumedly a repertory screening of The Jerk. Because when did that movie come out?
In like the 70s.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah, no. Both of these were, like, I think rented from, like, Blockbuster or something. I don't know, Netflix.
I see. Not your first in theaters. Your first in general. Okay,
First in general. My first movie in theaters, like, I have no recollection of. I mean, I'd have to ask my mom.
You were probably very young. I am the sort of parent that's going to keep track of that sort of thing, but...
You are that parent?
Right now, yeah. Me and my 3.5 children.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's a busy week, let me tell you. I was a little delayed getting up here, you know. I had a lot of boxed lunches to make. Yeah, tell me about it. They always want a cheese stick. Parents just be having cheese sticks.
Cheese sticks are one of the great snacks that you
Honestly,
can have
it
in your
is
fridge.
an ultimate snack.
Yeah,
just
so
a nice
smart.
little string cheese. Yeah, really good.
I miss those days before I was dairy intolerant. Just having a cheese stick ready.
They have
Go-Gurt.
vegan Baby Bells now.
They're so gross. They're like the most disgusting processed thing I've ever tried.
Oh, yeah. And
Disappointing.
I love them.
Give me the chemicals.
They taste like the earwax.
I want
every
something that tastes
flavor
like
bean.
sawdust.
Oh, sawdust would be a blessing if it tasted like that.
Yeah, it's sawdust with some stank on it. They add some
This
sort of
tastes
like
what I imagine is inside my belly button.
exactly that.
Oh,
Now I have a
nasty.
bunch of lint in my belly button. It sort of like collects like a lint filter in a dryer. Now that I have a bunch of belly hair, now it's like just a little dust bunny appears every day.
Oh, yeah.
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 I don't
I
know.
have the same issue.
You have a very shallow belly button, Yari.
Yeah, I had
He's
an...
got a dip. He's got
You've got a
tiny-
kiddie pool.
I
in
no,
there.
I used to
You
have
have a
an
dent in the
I used to have
road.
an Audi, and
Whoa.
I thought that's like only if you're ill. Like I thought Audis are like.
no, I had
No, people can have them.
I had an
Kevin-
Audi until probably like college.
Doesn't Kelly Ripa have an Audi?
Can't tell you what Kelly Ripa's stomach looks like.
Does Kelly Ripa have an Audi?
Kelly and we vacationed together, Kelly Ripa, and I try not to stare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you have a shallow little thing.
You have a shallow little thing.
Yeah, let's everybody compare belly buttons.
Yeah, let's see.
Mine's pretty.
Yours
I
is-
got
Mine's
a lot
a
of
black
space in there.
hole. Like,
Look, you can
like
see.
that thing. It's,
well,
it
wow.
looks like it's so
Yeah, you do.
Kat,
short.
you're missing the show here.
I know.
Hold
I
on,
feel left out.
I'll get up.
Oh, thank you. I guess I'll try to describe it for the listeners. Yeah.
Please describe each belly button in turn.
So yeah, there's like a deep one. Kevin, I feel like yours is a mid one,
Thank you.
and then there's sort of a and then
Yo,
there's
your
sort
belly
of a
button
shallow
is
one.
mid.
Yeah, mine's deeper. I would say mine's very deep. I remember like a belly button piercer was like, you have a great whatever kind of eyelid for a belly button. A great cliff. I don't know what I would call it. The words are escaping me, but for piercing. And then I got COVID last year, and for some reason that infected the belly button, and I had to take out the piercing. So that was
That was the worst part of COVID. And this is, of course, Run the Julias, the only podcast brave
I always
enough
wonder
to cover
what anecdote of mine is going to start the segment. Like, which one you're going to be like, that's it.
Single cinematic work of America's sweetheart, Julia Roberts. we were 24 minutes in. Somebody had to do it. And
we're the guests. We don't, you know.
Yeah, it's not your
I don't know how to
responsibility.
bring this. I don't know how to tie this all together.
No,
It
it'd
always
be
feels like
honestly
getting the
rude
light.
if you had done it.
So this is Run the Julias.
The only podcast brave enough to cover every single cinematic work of America's sweetheart Julia Roberts. I am one of your hosts, TV's Kevin Lanigan, and when I walk the fashion runway, I do it naked.
I'm your other host, Jessi Cat Scott, and every time the segment starts, it feels like getting the hook or the light at the end of a stand-up set.
Sandman gives you the hook, you know. At the Apollo.
And my favorite, I don't know who my favorite cameo was, like fashionista cameo was of that film. But it was fun to watch. It looked like they were having fun out there with fashion.
Amazing. And joining us, two beloved power guests from the history of Run the Julias. They're sitting on a couch with me right now. It's Yaari and Halley. Welcome back to the show.
Good to be here, Kevin.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
long time, third time.
Third time?
I think it's second time.
It is second time. The Woody Allen episode has not actually been done yet.
No.
Enzo, mi amore.
We have here, I know it's Paris Fashion Week, but with our two titans of Italian cinema that are in this film, we also have another titan of Italian being a cat, is our Italian foster cat, Enzo. And he might meow at some point.
And audience, you're just going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and sometimes the hosts are like, oh, I hate it when the pet sounds are in there. I like when the pet sounds are in
Me
there.
too.
Hey, I like when the pet sounds are in there when I'm talking about my record player.
The damn Beach Boys.
It's atmospheric.
Absolutely. I like, the aesthetic we've cultivated on the show is you're kind of just in a place having a conversation, you know?
Yeah,
Amazing.
so let's get into this film. What did we
Amazing.
think? Did we think it was a film? I have my thoughts.
We are here to talk about the 1994 Robert Altman ensemble fashion comedy Prêt-à-Porter, aka Ready to Wear. This is a film, Yaari and I saw this movie together at Lincoln Center last year.
They're doing a Sophia Loren retrospective.
That's what it was. I couldn't remember what it was, but that was sick.
She's hot.
And that was also, and then living in New York is such a beautiful thing because there's always a Robert Altman retrospective going on somewhere.
Yeah. Nashville's playing every other week. So
yeah,
you can always see
exactly.
Nashville
The
somewhere.
player is always playing,
the player's gonna play.
Play.
And it's beautiful for me because Robert Altman is like my favorite filmmaker. So it's lovely that so often I can just like go see a Robert Altman movie whenever I want to, basically. And this is not in my like upper echelon of Robert Altman movies. I'm not a real fan. I've only seen like 19 of his movies. But this is about in the middle. It's a very, very just like enjoyable, watchable movie. I think this goes down smooth. It's not sometimes you watch like, Nashville or something and you're like, wow, what a sumptuous like high-class feast I'm getting. And then sometimes you watch a Robert Altman movie and you're like, oh, I'm at the buffet table at the party and I get a little of this and I get a little of this and it's nice
I thought like the term film is a really liberal interpretation of what that was. I wouldn't call it really a film in structure. It's something else entirely. And I don't really know what it is. Maybe in that way it's cutting edge, that it's not really a film. It has sort of plot and it has sort of cameos, but it's not really a one film.
No, this is Robert Altman made a few movies like this that are just kind of like huge ensemble pieces that don't really have a central story. He made Shortcuts just the year prior to this.
I watched Shortcuts with you, and that's
an amazing
movie.
Yeah. And then Nashville, my favorite movie of all time, is another thing like kind of exactly like this, but set in the Nashville country music scene in the 1970s. That again, it's just like here is a sprawling, unwieldy cast of people, all with their own little interconnected stories that, like, you're just going to get little pieces of at a time, and then eventually it ends.
Each
sometimes
character kind of gets like 20 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, if that. Like Julia Roberts and Tim Robbins in this movie are like, they get like 4 scenes each. They're very short.
Yeah.
But it's very fun. It tells like a whole little story within that. But yeah, there's no. Sometimes in these movies, Nashville, there's the assassination and Shortcuts, there's the earthquake. This movie doesn't really have like that big unifying moment at the end where, like, I guess like the naked fashion show is the closest thing to that, but it's not like a big climax.
It's not so
in the
epic.
same way.
Yeah.
No, this is honestly just like a little lark. It's kind of fast fashion as a movie if you think about it.
I have seen probably like 6 or 7 Altman movies, and so I'm definitely not a big I'm a fan of pretty much everything of his that I've seen, but I'm not like, I'm not Kevin, and I definitely see like some of the thematic like stuff, or the structural stuff overlapping, but I also think that like the stakes to this seem a lot lower, and it doesn't, even though the structure is similar, it doesn't feel like an epic in the same way that some of his other films feel like epics. But maybe, and I'd be interested in hearing Halley's thoughts on this. Maybe I don't see it as the stakes being that high, because being a cis man, I don't see fashion as being particularly high, particularly high stakes thing, as opposed to these other films that have like epic politics at their center, or like life and death at the center.
Yeah.
But so maybe that's a bias of mine.
I mean,
Well,
I will say, like, sorry.
It's like listed in IMDb as like a parody or a satire, and it didn't feel that way in how it was like presented.
There's elements of satire for sure.
Yeah.
But I would not call it a full on like quote unquote satire of the fashion industry or Paris Fashion Week in general. It's more just like a comedy that is set within it and in the outskirts of it. I don't know. Like Gary said, fashion is kind of like, it's just a world that I am not into, that I don't pay any attention to. So I kind of like having this little windy movie that just kind of takes me to different corners of like what Fashion Week might look like.
I mean, to the point of like the politics of this movie, this is such an exciting time for fashion. It's one of my favorite eras of fashion, if not my favorite.
The 90s time when the movie is set.
Exactly. And like, I think the film is like explicitly engaged with this like turning point in fashion and culture in the 90s. It opens with, the Dior Moscow store. The perfume kind of counter of the Dior Moscow store is like in the window. And the opening shot of the film is Dior's Poison, which is a fragrance that came out in the 80s, which is like this super, it's like it's in some ways the like defining fragrance of the 80s. Like it's super over the top, loud, ornate fragrance. And that's the opening shot of the film, which to me is like, I hope, that's a purposeful choice. I'm assuming it is. And like, the thing is like, and then it like pans out, and then we go from Moscow into the French world. And I think like, this was a huge shift in fashion going into the 90s, where you're going from this like very structured, ornate thing of the 80s into like minimalism, deconstruction, more gender neutral fashion. The 90s was considered the time where fashion became like intellectual in a way it never was before. Not that there wasn't kind of theory and philosophy to fashion since day dot, there always was, but this was a time where like the lines were like explicitly engaged with like these philosophical pursuits. And also I think it's like starting with the Dior store in Moscow is so interesting, because like this is right after the fall of the USSR. So this is like the entry into like global capitalism.
Is the first shot not
nail
in like
coffin.
Kremlin Square? Like
The Red
literally
Square.
within view of the Red Square?
Yeah,
Right.
it is. And so it's like to start the film showing like the most like, you know, Dior Poison, which is like emblematic of this like, you know, hyper capitalist consumerist whatever. The Reagan era in Moscow, which was just starting to enter, like, you know, it's right after the fall of the USSR, entering this like global capitalist world. Starting there, like, I think these are inherently political choices, and I think it's like connecting the world of fashion in the 90s to like what's preceding it, like whether it's Reaganism, whether it's the USSR, like the fashion of the 90s is responding to all of those things.
I'll also add the historical context of, I mean, this might just be incidental, but the neoliberalization of the USSR was also happening like around, I don't know the exact dates, but between like 93 to 95, like Naomi Klein talks about it in The Shock Doctrine, how the USSR was continuously being pressured, I guess it wasn't the USSR anymore, I guess it was Russia, was continuously being pressured to expand and to globalize and to everything, and they kept like adding like free trade and sanctions and all this stuff whenever they would like refuse to and pressure them to enter into the IMF, which, you know, even though Dior was entering, just to connect it to Hallie's point, because I don't have the political context, Dior was entering the Soviet Union at the same time that the divide between the upper class and the lower classes was greatly expanding. And the existence of high fashion is also a symptom of this like kind of wealth divide. You know what I mean?
I will just add the asterisk that I did some research on this because I was like, when did Dior come to Russia? And like, when the USSR stopped their ban on like fashion shows, it was actually in 1959 that Dior first came to Russia and like did a show there and had models there. There's some amazing photos of that I found online. So I do think like I don't want to act like, oh, you know, the USSR disbanded and now we're in the 90s and, you know, Dior's there. Like, I don't think that's entirely accurate, but I certainly think like capitalism's reach to that part of the world is like it was a new era. So I think like using Dior or like, you know, high fashion as an example of that is accurate, but just the asterisk that Dior did have a connection to Russia prior to the 90s.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is surprising, but maybe not. There's a lot of like Soviet ideals of like fashion and how women present themselves being part of like showing a strong Soviet society. So it's a bit complicated, the relationship there.
Yeah, and that is the way that this, like, very light fashion industry comedy opens with, like, that in, like, Kremlin Square, and then the camera just, like, starts whipping around and whipping around and whipping around as the credits go, and then suddenly we're in, like, Paris in, like, a match cut.
Kevin, let me ask you a question, and Kat, feel free to jump in on this, too. Who are some of the credits that we see in this film?
Oh, well, you got Sophia Loren, you got Danny Aiello, you got Terry Garr, you have Tracy Ullman, the British comedian whose show started The Simpsons. You have Sally Kellerman, an Altman regular. You have Richard E. Grant, you have Forrest Whitaker, you have Tim Robbins, who did 3 Altman movies in 3 years. And of course, you have one Julia Roberts. Featured in a fun supporting role within this movie. It will be too late by the time this episode comes out, but this Thursday I'm doing a Julia Roberts clip round at Movie Trivia, and I pulled a clip from this movie, that scene where she's like keeps taking the wine glasses out of Tim Robbins' hand. So that's going to be a tricky one for the 22-year-olds who are regulars at syndicated trivia.
Honestly, you also have Kim Basinger as
that's right.
my
Kim
favorite.
Basinger at like the top of her powers.
Yeah, that
like,
was
Kim
my
Basinger,
favorite.
like the hottest actress in Hollywood at this point.
That was my favorite character, and then she was sort of the puck. She was sort of the frame of the story. She was sort of the yeah, she was sort of the narrator that connected
Yeah.
the worlds.
She's giving us a lot of important expositional information, as well
And
as like kind of linking these different stories.
And she was
being funny,
also
being charming.
she also was me in a way. If I was to find myself in it, she was the perfect insert of, well, what is this high fashion? I know you're super famous, and what's this? And then by the end, it was like clear that she was like, I can't. And I felt that self-insert was me. That was where I was, because
Now,
I worked
who
as
is Yves Saint Laurent?
yeah. And so I was Anne Hathaway in The Devil Wears Prada when I worked for Vogue and Vanity Fair and Glamour and Allure and Teen Vogue and GQ when I was in New York. And one of my last weeks working as a PA for them was in 2020, that fashion week right before COVID. That was probably a super spreader. And it was interesting. My experience was much more the Kitty Potter role of running around carrying like Dua Lipa's super expensive dresses. And I worked the Met Gala for Kim Kardashian for Vogue when she had that famous Mugler dripping wet gown. So I was in the get ready look set for that. I was like a skeleton crew for that. But I was Kitty in all of that. I was just like, I don't know why this is culturally important, but I have to pretend because it is my job. And so I have to just keep being like, it's an honor. You're beautiful. What's going on? And so it was kind of fun to be transported to the golden era of 1994 of that world, when I was kind of at the end of it being, now it's sort of like, how can we stay relevant as high fashion in the digital industry, and how can we pretend like we still have the prestige that we did in the 90s? So kind of seeing the farce of the three women who played those heads was cathartic for me, having experienced the huge divide of being bottom of the call sheet and what was asked of me. So it was cathartic for sure, because I have some mixed feelings about my time at Condé Nast, obviously.
One of the interesting things about this character, the Kim Basinger character, the character's name is Kitty, right?
Kitty Potter.
Kitty Potter. There's so many names, it's hard to keep track of who's who. But one of the things that I think, Kat, connects your experience with kind of the historical and philosophical stuff that Halley is talking about is that she's almost a blank slate for these fashion icons, the Thierry Mugler's and the Gore from Christian Dior, to talk about like whatever extent they're engaged with politics or history or fashion or aesthetics. And some of them like give kind of like, I don't want to say glib, but like kind of abstract, aloof maybe is the right word, answers like, this is just about sex and the human body. And Jean-Paul Gaultier, I think, was the one who was talking about how standards of beauty are different all across the world, and he wanted his collection to reflect a more global beauty rather than a Western beauty. And we have these kind of two extremes of like, there's the aesthetes who are just kind of operating instinctively, and there's the people who are operating on this kind of a very intellectual level. And that's not to say that the aesthetes aren't thinking about it at an intellectual level, but when given the chance to platform what they're interested in, they're having fun,
There was there's a level of like Miranda Priestley of like, you either get it and you get it, or you don't and you don't, from like Devil Wears Prada, that sort of makes its way of like, kind of like, oh, if you don't get high fashion, like sort of turning your nose down, but if you get it, here's your small access points to access it so you can kind of join the hype. But if you don't get it, you're kind of getting written off. And I feel like that was prevalent in this, of like, it's not a super accessible art form to get plugged in, and you have to do your own research to keep up, because they're not going to hold your hand and bring you in. You're going to have to, like the way that Halley has this knowledge base of it, I feel like is not going to be offered by someone in the industry. It's something that you do your own research and then enter in, which I think is interesting. So you can kind of see that in the more, I guess, satirical frame of this film.
Well, I think, like, you mentioned this final scene, like, identifying with Kitty in this moment where she, like, throws in the towel. But it's so funny. I love that moment. That was one of my favorite moments of the movie, was when the young person who's, like, her assistant, I guess, steps up and takes the mic and, like, just says the most eloquent, like, analysis of the show versus Kitty's, like, empty, throwing stuff at the wall, like, trying to find meaning, but it's not coming from a real place.
Yeah.
And the thing with, like, this young person who comes in, she clearly has such a love and veneration for fashion, and, like, that love is so obvious in the way what she says when she grabs the mic, and I really identified with that character in that moment. I was like, oh, like, here's someone who really sees the beauty. And then the final credit sequence, the credits roll as it's like the like final bows for all the shows and like everyone clapping, and I thought having that under the credits, I'm like, even though there's satirical elements of this film, I feel like it comes from a real appreciation and love of fashion as well. And like, even though I don't think Robert Altman is in that world, like he said, he came up with this idea for the film after like going to a fashion show with his wife, so he's clearly like an outsider, but maybe through doing the film, like he developed obviously deeper knowledge and appreciation. But like that final moment ending on that note, I feel like what she is saying is very genuine, and I feel is kind of the final perspective of the film. And the thing about fashion, I mean, it's like,
I think this is like kind of my issue with the framing of it as satire, right? Because who's the joke on? Because I don't think the joke is on any of the designers. I mean, you know, Forrest Whitaker and Richard E. Grant have their like torrid love affair, but the joke is kind of, we're in on the joke, right? But the joke, the satire isn't on the world itself. The satire, I think, is on the Americans.
Totally. I mean, I think
Kitty's
Kitty's empty searching for like meaning in fashion, as if there's like some meaning there that exists and needs to get to and she doesn't get. Like, it's kind of like people who go to a museum or look at a Rothko and are like, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
My
and
kid
it's like,
could do this.
Yeah, and it's like that. Like, people approach any art forms that way, including fashion. I think fashion, it's like, it's such a rich topic because obviously there's wealth involved and all these other elements, and certainly now celebrity, all this. But like, I do think, like anything, it's an art form that, as much as you can learn the techniques and the history and all of that, it's also about your own connection and interpretation and analysis and like the desire, the love that allows you to bring it to that. And like with Kitty, like she doesn't have that love. Like, you know, she's just like reading things off cards. And I think that like reporter at the end like clearly has that, and I think it's like a beautiful final moment that, you know, that was like one of my favorite parts of the film, honestly.
It's interesting because I feel like in that way the film has balance for viewers coming from two different perspectives, like viewers like me who identify more with Kitty. It's like an exaggeration, like she's like an exaggerated form of like what my like frustration is trying to understand that art form, and so she's kind of like the caricature of like something that I'm grappling with the movie. And then it has enough like groundedness for people who already identify with fashion and can like appreciate what's happening to enjoy that final moment. And I can kind of I can respect in that final moment, I can go, oh, I totally respect that reporter stepping in, and maybe this is just not something that I'm clicking with yet, but like I feel like it adds like a level of respect where I'm validated in the frustration. I get to see the catharsis of that, and then I have this final moment of, okay, I can respect why what I just watched was the Emperor's New Clothes and could not understand. I was like, this is the Emperor's New Clothes. I do not understand. And then have that sort of final beat of like, oh, but I can respect people who see it as not that.
Totally. What?
That frame's nice.
I think it's like it's in group for everyone, because obviously the satire of the fashion industry is very in group in this film, because there's all these amazing cameos. So it's like, clearly this is a labor of love from people within the fashion world. But it's also like, you know, as I mentioned about the start of the film, like starting in Moscow, I think that's an interesting choice. Like, we're entering the world of global capitalism. This is like, fashion was so global at this point. It's kind of part of us all, especially in the 90s. Like, well, aside from that, I'll put a pin in that for a second. Fashion is like part of all of our lives, because we all wear clothes in a way that other art forms are maybe not. Or you can, you know, not have like this daily interaction with the way we do fashion. So it's like our relationship to clothing and how we dress ourselves, it's like we all have that, whether how much intentionality you put in that or not, or think you're putting in or not. And so it's like, it's always going to be an in-group thing. Like, there's always going to be like people who identify more with Kitty, or people who identify more with the younger reporter, because like we all have that relationship to fashion. But I also think, specifically in the 90s, there's this other thing happening where, like, fashion was, like, this is the era of the supermodel. Like, this is truly an era where, like, fashion was such a huge part of people's lives in terms of, like, culture, like, pop culture. And, you know, like, the word supermodel wasn't even really used until the 90s. Like, that's the moment where it became a thing, a kind of, like, short-lived thing, in fact. And in this film, I mentioned all the, you know, amazing cameos. They have, like, I wrote down some of them. Like, they have, like, Tatiana Petitz is in this. She was considered one of, like, the big 5 supermodels who are, like, the first 5 supermodels ever. And, like, she's in this film, you know?
And Naomi Campbell in this, too, for a little bit?
Was she?
Somebody
Sure.
fact check me on this.
I don't know. But, I mean, Naomi Campbell is one of the big 5, so it's true. Yeah, obviously Cindy Crawford. Like, these are, like, this is the era of the supermodel going into the 90s. And,
Sorry.
Oops, my headphone fell out.
Sorry.
And so I think, like, it's, like, kind of like how we all know, like, Kim Kardashian now. Like, these were in everyone's homes.
Yeah.
These people. Like, even if you're someone who, like, has no interest in, like, you know, purchasing for yourself, like, high fashion, you knew who these models were.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's
she
like,
is in the movie, Naomi.
it was just
Thank you
part
for the fact check.
of people's everyday lives. Yeah, she's another one of the like, big 5. And I think, like, you know, not just the designers, not just the clothes, but the whole world, the models themselves, which is also something so unique about the 90s, in that these women weren't just, like, mannequins. Like, prior to this, not completely, there will obviously be exceptions, but, like, models were more like mannequins in a way. I hate to say that, but, like, these were women who had, like, identities beyond just wearing the clothes. They were superstars in and of themselves. You know, who else was in this? Like,
Were any of the models
have-
some of the naked models that walked? Like, were any of them recognizable?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they were all working models of the time, but they
Yeah.
weren't, like, I don't think there were any, like, the superstars in the ending, but I'd have to look. But, like, you have, like, Eve Salvai. She's, like, the woman with the shaved tattooed head. She was, like, really famous Quebecois model from that era. Like, these women had style that was their own. They had their own, like, enterprises beyond modeling. There was, who else is it? Helena Christensen is in there. I'm a big fan of hers because she started Nylon Magazine, which was part of my entry into the fashion world in many ways. And so it's like a lot of these women in this who are modeling at this time were, like, household names, had their own personalities, went on to have careers outside of modeling. Like, you know, this is so special to this era of fashion. And even compared to today, it's so special because I think a lot of, like, models we know now, I mean, the era of the supermodel is kind of done, but when people talk about, like, famous models today, it's like a lot of Nepo crap.
Yeah.
Like, it's Kendall Jenner, it's the Hadids, it's Hailey Bieber, you know, with some, like, exceptions. And I think, like, and even what's her name? Kaya Gerber. She's Cindy Crawford's daughter. So, you know, there's this, like, who was one of the big five, you know? So today it's, like, just, it's not the same world. And I think, these household names are household because they're, like, members of these huge, insanely wealthy families, not necessarily just from modeling.
Can I ask a historical question?
Yeah.
What, like, brought about these particular supermodels to be the people who were, like, the it people, and why did that era kind of decline? Like, why was the supermodel something that was unique to the 90s?
I mean, I think the whole fashion world of the 90s was so different than it had ever been. Like, there was this newfound, like, individuality that was part of the, like, culture of the time. Like, fashion became about, like, as I mentioned earlier, these more philosophical ideas. And I think, like, personalities were kind of allowed to be part of that, you know? I think, you know, I think it's a lot of different things. It's probably, you know, part of the economics at the time as well, frankly. Like, people could build real careers doing this. Yeah, it was just, like, it was an exciting time for all of this. I think these models are in people's homes, part of people's lives. They're superstars. So I think, like, anyone watching this film, like, I think if you watched it when it came out or in the 90s, you would recognize these faces in a way. And I think, like, even if you're someone who didn't consider themselves to have an interest in fashion, you would feel very connected to this world.
Yeah,
and I
totally.
think that's so powerful and, like, unique about then. And I don't know if we have that as much now. Certainly not with models. Certainly not with that. But.
I was wondering if also the site-specific aspect of it was unique to the 90s, or if that was always part of, like, Runway. I was wondering if sort of these really, like, big sets that were connected to the more philosophical part of the whatever the project is or the line is or the season is. I was wondering if that was also more in the zeitgeist, and that's what was exciting about it, because that's still true today. As a big part of Runway is often the way that it's presented, like the way that it was, like, through the trolley cart or the subway, I guess, or whatever that was in Paris. And I was wondering if that has always been true for Runway, or if that was also more, like, part of the production value and interest in capturing it.
That was definitely, like, part of that era, you know, doing these, like, site-specific. I mean, there's like, other examples that I mentioned those photos of, like, Dior in Moscow in the 50s. Like, the models, like, walked around this, like, Russian department store. And so even though, like, in the U.S., models in a department store, that's not so interesting, but models walking around with, like, you know, babushkas with their headscarves, like, it kind of becomes an interesting on-location thing. Like, I don't want to say, like, oh, the, like, runways were always in, like, traditional settings, because those settings, like, have meaning and history themselves, but I think that, like, more site-specific, doing things not in traditional spaces, that is very unique to the 90s as well, or starting in the 90s. Now it's very common. They all do that.
You mentioning this is reminding me of kind of a completely different fashion thing, which is, like, the era of the department store. And I'm thinking about, I don't remember if it was The Master or if it was Carol, where they're in the department store and there's the models that are, like, opening up their coats and, like, twirling around so people can see the outfits to go buy them. Do you know this image that I'm talking about?
I mean, that's just something that used to happen in department stores. You can see that in Frederick Weissman's The Store.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably it, because I don't remember that from either of those other two.
Yeah.
Was it in Singing in the Rain that they did that vignette sequence, or was that White Christmas?
I think it's The Master.
What was...
Are you talking about The Women, where there's, like, a department store fashion show? It's the only part of the movie that's in color. It's, like, a 15-minute sequence of just, like, models showing off things in a department store.
That was fun.
And it's, like,
I think I watched that with you.
Yeah,
I think
you did.
I'm not thinking of that, though. There is, like, a small version of it in one of those, like, famous, maybe it's the apartment. I don't know, but the women was a cool one as well. One
Wait,
thing
can I pitch a segment?
Yeah.
Segment just came to mind.
Yes, sure.
The segment is going to be called "Who Are You Wearing?" And we each go around
Right now?
and we say who we're wearing.
Well, we can't. I'm just wearing cozy clothes.
But
We're
you can
sitting on
tell
the couch.
this is a good shirt that tells a story.
Yeah. I guess.
I can get started and we can go, around Kevin
Sure.
ways. I'm wearing Double Wonderful, who is a Steely Dan bootleg t-shirt guy, and Uniqlo jeans. And I am afraid that these jeans are stained. So Double Wonderful, this is a t-shirt that has all of the lyrics of Deacon Blues on it.
And what are
So
your,
that's who I'm wearing.
What are your panties?
My panties?
Panties.
Well, let's take a look. Let's see. Oh, they're Goodfellow. Is that the
Yeah.
one that's the Target
Target.
brand?
Yep.
Yeah. Those are my
Boxer
Solid.
briefs, right?
boxer briefs. Yeah, I think they're black.
What are you
And
rocking?
what are your
there?
glasses?
Let's just say what underwear we're wearing.
Uh-oh. It's Run
Not
the
safe for
Julia's
work.
After Dark.
Yeah.
What are your
What do you got?
glasses?
What are your glasses?
My glasses are actually vintage glasses.
Whoa.
That there's this cool little shop in
Of course.
it's a shop of
Horrors?
horrors. Like, oh no, that's audio, not visual.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. There's a cool little vintage shop at the Dumbo Flea Market that is run by an optometrist, and you can get prescription glasses from her.
Oh, that's sick.
Her name is
Cool.
like the Vintage Lady.
That's sick.
And
I think that's
who's
called
your
the vintage
hair?
lady.
True vintage, yeah.
Who's
or
your
maybe,
hair?
I don't know.
Who
does
did your hair?
Who does my hair? I actually just went to a new guy, so I don't have
Oh,
his
new
name off the top of my
guy.
head. So the segment is now, who am I wearing?
Yeah, just let's
it's
talk
just,
about Yaari's
it's just
outfit.
what am I wearing?
Yeah.
Well, I
his
wanted to
socks,
get the
see.
full picture because people take for granted those little things.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
true.
Definitely.
Yeah, people are always
Definitely.
taking my underwear for granted, so I'm...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Sometimes if I'm being funny, even though I'm wearing boxer briefs, I'll roll up the boxer part a little bit and I'll walk around as if I'm wearing briefs. And I think Hallie finds that both sexy and funny.
Yeah, which is the
A
perfect-
beautiful
Perfect balance.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin,
Amazing.
what are you wearing?
Who are you wearing?
Who am
Who are
I
you
wearing?
wearing?
I earnestly have no idea. Do you want to check? There's not
Let's
a
check the
tag.
tag.
Do you
Well, where
wanna
did you
check
get
the
it?
label?
It doesn't
I
matter.
don't remember. I
Was
have.
that
Okay.
Goodfellow again?
No,
Oh.
maybe.
I have no earthly idea.
Croft Barrow.
Oh, this is Croft Barrow. Of
Croft
course.
Croft and Barrow.
I'm wearing kind of a maroon. It's like sweater adjacent, you know. It's like a thicker material, so it's
Yeah.
thicker than like a t-shirt.
Are you wearing
You
something
don't
underneath,
remember where
or
you got
No,
it?
I'm raw dogging
You're
it.
raw dogging
I have
it.
no idea where this shirt came from. I'm wearing some cords. They're actually skater cords. Kelly's brother owns like a skateboard apparel company.
That's hot.
So I get a lot of free shit.
I love when
Um,
girlfriends like up style their
Wait,
boyfriends.
it's his designs?
No, they're like separate companies, but he owns like a retail store or
okay.
something like that.
What's your beanie?
I've always been a cords man.
I love it's almost corduroy season.
It's
so I'm-
definitely corduroy. I
I'm
mean, I wear
ready.
them year round. I'm a
I'm
Uniqlo
ready.
cords hoe, but these are pretty good too. Beanie, I don't know. It has like a little Captain America symbol on it. I almost assumedly got it for free or like at Forbidden Planet when I was there because my head was cold. I don't know the make of the socks. They have little rainbow hearts on them.
Kevin's barefoot on our couch right now.
Yeah.
and he's,
You took him off?
he took
I
off his socks.
don't-
He pulled up the sock to show us off of his foot.
What are your
and,
panties?
I might need your help, Yaari. I don't know what I looked for branding around the front.
Okay.
Let's check out the Goodfellas.
Yeah, check them out.
It's got a G. Sorry for touching your butt.
That's okay.
It just says George.
Oh, I'm wearing George.
He's wearing George.
I'm wearing George today.
Kevin, who are you wearing?
George.
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 I love that. It does kind of sound. It kind of sounds high fashion though. George.
George, yeah.
Giorgio Armand.
I'm wearing this Obey hoodie because I have to constantly change what I'm wearing for sensory reasons. But this is almost baggy enough to not be a problem.
Nice.
I don't remember where I got it. I feel like it was maybe Depop. That can't be right. Maybe it was a thrift store. I got this shirt that says what is it? It's like soft power, and I got it when I got like a bunch of graphic tees after a breakup. I got like 6 graphic tees to express myself.
Wait, I have to interrupt for a second because soft power is basically what the politics of fashion is what we're talking about here. The existence of a Dior store in the Soviet Union is an example of soft power.
Wow.
Sure. My hair is from a barbershop called Folklore, not affiliated with Taylor Swift. Danny Duncan has a like a leisure wear brand, and so my sweatpants say "Virginity Rocks," and
That's true.
I'm commando.
Nice.
Nice.
I often do the show commando, but I'm in my friend's apartment right now, so I'm wearing underpants.
Yeah. Well,
You're
Just in case.
Yeah.
I'm wearing George.
You're wearing George.
Just in case you get pantsed.
Yeah, in case I split them, my loose cords open.
I like the idea that you're like, I
Allie.
put on my panties for my friends.
For my
safety,
friends,
for
to show off.
respect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got my cozy clothes on. I'm
Same.
wearing a t-shirt from
Oh, that's fun.
the Grand Palais in Paris that has Nikki de Saint-Phalle shooting a gun. It's
Cool.
like, to describe it to the viewers, she's like shooting the gun at you. Because
Whoa.
Nikki de Saint-Phalle did a series of paintings where she like shot at this like big canvas full of paints, and it like made a painting.
Cool.
So, and I cut the shirt because I cut all of my shirts, all of my t-shirts to crop them. Even though this is an insanely expensive t-shirt, I paid way too much for it. And when I was cutting it, I was like, what if this is a mistake? But it wasn't. It looks good.
Hell yeah.
I'm wearing these sweatpants from Old Navy. They're not even sweatpants. They're like, I love them. I call them my hot mom outfit because it's like a full like sweatsuit, and it makes me look so snatched for some reason. It's just like an incredible line. They're amazing. And my mom actually hemmed these for me, and so I kind of like that. Like whenever I put them on, I'm like, my mom touched this, you know? I don't know. It's a nice thing. And my socks are really silly ones that I got for Hanukkah from my aunt and uncle. They have Salvador Dali on them. And my underwear, I'm wearing Adidas slides, my house shoes, and it's black. It's the Adidas slides, and the stripes on it are black, which I like. Black
Whoa.
on black, which I think is fun. And my underwear, I'm insanely picky about my underwear. I go through phases where when I find a kind of underwear I like, I buy 1,000,000 pairs and I only wear that underwear. When I was in high school, the only underwear I liked was from Marks and Spencer, like the British like department store. I would order them online. That was the only ones I liked. Then I went through a phase. There was a style at Victoria's Secret for a while that I liked, but they changed it. Now, these are from Pact is the company, P-A-C-T, Pact. It's like I think their whole deal is that they're like all cotton.
Yeah.
I only like cotton underwear.
Same.
And a very specific line. I like high waist, high leg, like a brief. And so this is my Pact underwear. It's almost exclusively what I wear. And my bra is from this place called Bravissimo that specialized in D-cupping up. And they used to have a brick and mortar.
Let's censor that.
They used to have
Let's censor that. I don't want anybody else knowing about this.
They used to have a brick and mortar in New York, but it closed, which is very sad. But again, this bra, I have 3 of them, and it's the only bra I wear, pretty much, because with undergarments, it's like when I find something that works, I just stick with it.
Totally.
And I think that's everything.
What about your glasses?
Oh, these are just Warby Parker.
Nice.
Classic.
Do you have earrings?
And that's who we're wearing.
What was that?
Do you have earrings?
No, I don't. Nope, no jewelry.
You're clean right now.
I guess I do have I have a class ring from my grad school. It's kind of a motivator to say, hey, you did that. Even if job stuff isn't working, you did that yourself. Good job. I also usually when I'm wearing underwear, I only wear thongs or I guess briefs like boxer briefs at home, but not out. I don't like how they feel under pants. And I think, LOL, underpants. And I I think that's surprising gender-wise for people that I'm so thong-based, but I like as little as possible, and the wedgie feeling doesn't bother me. One thing I liked about, speaking of lingerie, one thing I liked about this film was
there we go.
Sophie Loren in her lingerie, and I
didn't mind that.
I liked all of the
I covered my eyes.
Sure. I liked all of the older, more middle-aged to like elderly people in this film being so horny for each other, and like the sexuality between older people was really cool, because while it was about, you know, high fashion and a lot of smaller, younger people as the focus, I think the like femme titans around it and their sexuality, while some of them were being blackmailed and whatnot, I still think there was still an undercurrent of it wasn't like entirely played for laughs. Like there was like a being hot for each other above age 40. And I think
Sally Kellerman is topless in this movie, as she was in MASH 25 years earlier. You know, like you will never see that.
The thing that's played for laughs is how nasty that Irish guy is.
Yeah,
like,
he's being
right.
Like he gets his comeuppance, and that's what's funny. But the female roles are, you know, like it's seen as dignity robbed, not as a joke. At least in my opinion, I don't know.
I thinking about it more when I was thinking about what kind of allowed for that, because originally that was just my takeaway that I enjoyed. But when I thought about it more, it might be a symptom of like high fashion was the way to construct glamour and beauty when there wasn't as much accessible, weird plastic surgery and cosmetic alterations, and like the proliferation of like facelifts and Botox and these things. Like it was much earlier in that era. So instead, kind of the drippings, because now I think of women decked out like that as like it's more like gay men that are attracted to it and into it, and it creates these gay icons. But like Cher was, I think, above 40 in this, and like women who are dripped in like fun black lingerie and high fashion and stuff, like it was highly desired by the men in the movie, which I loved that.
Yeah, I love that too. It's funny you mentioned plastic surgery. One of the great cameos in this is, of course, Terry Mugler, and this is before he had his crazy plastic surgery.
Oh, I don't know who this man is.
Terry Mugler, he like he had a really extensive plastic surgery. I think he's like ended up with an iconic look. He kind of looks like a monster in an amazing way.
Wow.
But I'll put up a photo later.
Thank you. Please
do. But in this, it's kind of before all of that. And so it was almost surprising to see him like in his.
Yeah, he was
That's
hot. He was hot back then. Also,
Totally.
The hottest person in this movie for me was Richard E. Grant.
I mean, always, every time.
So hot. I loved the look. And then I loved the transvestite sequence that wasn't really played for laughs. It was just like a beautiful
That's
little.
what we wanted to talk about.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So, like, through most of the movie, Terry Garr, we're cutting to her occasionally going on like a real shopping spree, and you're like, okay, like we keep seeing scenes of her buying a lot of clothes, and I'm like, is this just like a 90s women be shopping like kind of riff, with the ultimate reveal that like she's buying all these clothes for Danny Aiello to wear, which is like not. It certainly surprised me, and surprised me again. I did not remember that plot line from the first time that I had seen this movie. And again, like in a way that is really surprising for 1994, like isn't really played for laughs in that way. You know, there's the moment with like Lily Taylor taking pictures that like, you know, you could talk about maybe like that moment's played for laughs. But other than that, it seems to be like a pretty straightforward respectful, plot line, which is very surprising.
Yeah, when it's first revealed that we don't know that the clothes are for him yet, but she's kind of going through her shopping haul and showing him the pieces. I loved that scene in that moment. I was like, already, this is my favorite scene. When she's like, and the Chanel suit, and he's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
he's like loving it.
Yeah, Marge Simpson is one of those. Yeah.
Like, I just like, that was such a beautiful moment to me, even before I realized these items are for him, which I think imbues it with more meaning, but just like sharing these gorgeous garments and like having just pure pleasure in that. I was like, and not on the runway, but just like in the privacy of this room.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is one of the many beautiful things to love about fashion, but it was just such a beautiful moment. This couple like gushing over these gorgeous clothes, and then when it's revealed that he's wearing them, like he really loves it. And I don't know, I didn't think it was kind of played for laughs at all.
I think that it was not played for laughs for the most part, and it was very respectful, even through the Lily Taylor like taking her photos of everyone, like those snapshots of the photos. I thought like, oh, those are amazing. Those could be amazing cultural like documents, right? Like even within Paris Fashion Week, there is a group of, they use the words crossdresser or transvestite in the film that are also appreciating this culture and are a part of it and are in many ways, contributing to it.
Totally.
But I will say there's a punchline that I don't like.
What was it?
Which is Danny Aiello sees Lily Taylor using, I think it's his camera, and he's part of the lost bag thing.
Oh, that crap!
And he like, I can't even remember the lost bag plot line, but he sees Lily Taylor taking the photo of him, and he puts on his kind of like, before he was having his kind of like higher affect, but it's not like, he wasn't doing like a disrespectful like girl voice or whatever. He was just like, had a bit of a higher affect.
Yeah.
But then when the camera came out, he put on a deep masculine voice as like, give me that back, which is like,
he was doing like the full Danny Aiello.
Yeah,
voice.
which I think that is played, I think that was trying to be played for laughs, which is like, oh, really underneath this all, he still is this kind of like, like a primal animalistic like man. And I didn't really, I thought the movie was trying to make that a joke, and I could totally be wrong about that.
No, I thought about that moment too. That's the part where I'm like, I guess maybe it was played for laughs, where it's like he was like ashamed to be there publicly or something, and I was just like, oh, bummer. This was almost just like a cute little snapshot, but I get having to acknowledge the toxic masculinity at the time, and then that's sort of like a secret and whatever. But at least nobody was like, at least nobody was gay bashed. At least
It's true. I mean, Altman was like kind of surprisingly progressive on the stories of trans people, because about 10 years before this, he does a movie called Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, leaving the Criterion Channel before the end of the month. And that movie is all about like a really like, it's an adult trans person, and like returning to their hometown and kind of like finding the way that like things have changed and things have not. And, and you just don't expect that necessarily of a guy who was born in like the 1940s. Do you know what I like? His contemporaries, Scorsese, Coppola, Spielberg, have almost essentially like never spoken on the issue at all, have never put that kind of thing on camera whatsoever. Another of his contemporaries, Brian De Palma, has done some very dicey, portrayals of stuff like that. But Altman, for some of his failings along the way in depictions of various groups, like, seems to have been pretty on board for, or at least, like, able to portray, like, humanist trans stories on screen, which is very surprising, frankly.
I think, too, like, I think if he's talking about this era in fashion in the 90s, this was such a time of, like, experimentation in fashion, and also a lot of that was like more gender androgyny, gender fluidity, like new ways of expressing gender. You know, not to talk a million times about Dior Poison, but it's a very gendered perfume. Like, that was a women's perfume. The number one perfume in the 90s, which would have come out, I might have written down, I'm not sure if I did, like, would have come out, I think it came out the same year, I think it came out in 94, was Calvin Klein's CK1. That was like the dominating perfume of the 90s. That fragrance was famously a gender-neutral fragrance, you know? And the whole marketing around it was that it's for everyone and it's like for you, and, you know, and this is like, it was like a fresh citrus fragrance. I mean, it is, you can still buy it, it's still popular, but it was like the 90s fragrance at that time. And, you know, the shows that were in this film, because this is from, you know, Paris Fashion Week, one of the most iconic shows, the Jean Paul Gaultier show in this film, like, there's men in skirts in that show.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't, which is like, you know, you have to understand, this is coming after the freaking 80s. You know, this is like a groundbreaking time in fashion, and the way people were expressing gender, you know, you have women with shaved heads and tattoos and piercings. There's body, even though plastic surgery wasn't what it is today, body modification was very big. There's also such a conversation between, like,
That Cher scene kind of reminds me of that too, where Cher says, like, I am both a victim of it and perpetrating it at the same time, of like unrealistic beauty standards.
Totally genius scene. Yeah, I think, like, it's such a rich time, and like there's also, like, grunge had a huge influence. Like, this is the same year that, like, everything's changing, the same era, everything's changing with music. You have, like, Nirvana, you have Green Day, you have all these things that's, like, you know, this conversation between the alternative and the mainstream.
Bjork.
You have major labels. Well, I'll get to this. Major labels with an interest.
I was going to get to Bjork.
That's the what I must say about it is that. But, you know, like, you have this conversation between the underground and the mainstream, the alternative and the mainstream, in this such a specific way at this time, that I'm like, part of that was, you know, obviously queer culture, but even beyond that, like, androgyny, you know, and that's part of the, I don't know if that's, I don't think that's, like, explicitly in that scene of him wearing the Chanel suit, but I think it's all part of the conversation of this moment. Yeah, Bjork, I get, you brought it up, you know? So Bjork,
I'm teeing.
All right, I'm gonna go to the
One of
bathroom,
yours.
go crazy.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna put these on so that I can lean back a bit.
yeah, Bjork does have a little cameo in this. She walked in that Jean Paul Gaultier show, and it's actually a really famous show because it became, like, part of his, like, whole, like, one of the terms that people constantly applied to his career was global village chic. It's a little, we can talk, it's a little problematic.
Yeah, maybe, you know, third world chic.
But that was what in the Vogue article about this very show that's featured in this film. It's it's a really famous show. Bjork walked in it, and there's clips of her walking in it. You know, I think that for, like, the thing about Jean Paul Gaultier, he was pulling from all over the world, and you see that in the show with Africa, you know, with India, with all these cultures he's pulled from. He has a show you would really like. He has a show inspired by Hasids.
Oh, that's so
called Chic
awesome.
Rabbis.
That's so
awesome. If
awesome.
you've never seen photos, you should check it out. But he was just not afraid to pull from other cultures, which, again, some of that, there's obviously valid criticism of that, but there's also this genuine, like, curiosity about the world. I think fashion at this time being so global and so interested in the world, like, it is unique. And Bjork's music, I think, is also representative of that in many ways. So having her in the show is interesting. I'm just rambling about Bjork now, and but I will say Bjork's inclusion in this. I'm trying to connect this all together. This was the same time that her debut album came out. Yeah. And so this is the beginning of her solo career. Prior to this, she was in the Sugar Cubes, and so she's kind of becoming this, like, global icon and success herself. And that's, again, I think, another example of this communication between the alternative, the experimental, the underground, and the mainstream that is, like, something that's very special about the 90s.
Yeah, totally.
Is that communication. between those two things.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about globalization and global capitalism.
Yeah.
Is that
I think that's all part of the conversation of this film.
Yeah. I think that, I kind of want to bring the America of this all into
Finally.
it.
Yeah.
Because Hallie texted me some thoughts that she had, and I said, we're going to save this for the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, almost every American in this movie is depicted as someone who does not understand fashion.
Well, there are people who try. I think Kitty Porter tries. I also think Julia Roberts is a fashion.
She's a fashion reporter who just cannot leave her hotel room.
Who cannot leave her hotel room.
Watching it on TV.
But she's watching it on TV, and I think that's
Forrest Whitaker is, of course, a fashion designer in the movie, but he's an American who's very obviously. But a lot of the other guys are adults.
Yeah, I think that apart from Forrest Whitaker's character, who again is marginalized in a million ways.
Yes.
Right.
Who I love in the movie, though. I think he's a really wonderful performance.
Yeah.
I like Forrest Whitaker a lot.
Yeah, I think Forrest Whitaker is a fantastic actor. But apart from Forrest Whitaker, who's in this world, the Americans who want to have access to this world are all very limited in their ability to do so, with the exception of Forrest Whitaker's character and Danny Aiello and his wife, who have, this kind of sweet, if maybe the ending is a little bitter, relationship to really loving these clothes. For Tim Robbins and Julia Roberts, for Tim Robbins it's bullshit, it's nothing, even though he's there to cover fucking sports, right? For Julia Roberts, it's a job, it's an excuse to get drunk.
Yeah.
And for Kitty Porter, it's an excuse to get famous. They all have fashion as a means to an
Lily
end.
Taylor is there to take it down, and a couple of the magazine editors are American, and
they're trying to profit off of it.
They're
too.
trying to profit.
They have
off of it.
There's something outside of the art that they're all trying to get.
There's no love of the
into.
game in it for most of these Americans.
Totally.
Until you get that reporter at the end when she jumps in.
She's French. That reporter is French.
She was French.
She was French. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that Altman, who is, often considered one of the great depictors of America in his films, is doing is critiquing. This is where the label of satire honestly kind of pisses me off a little bit, because American critics were trying to think of this as we're going to send up the high art industry or the high fashion industry, and this isn't funny. They actually care about what they're doing. But the satire is of the way that the Americans engage with the high fashion world.
Yeah.
Which
is
is
how I read it.
Yeah, I read it the same way. And for me, I was never somebody who's fashion is such a hugely important part of my life, but I was never someone who's fashion has no part in my life.
Of course.
Either. But I remember Hallie actually helped bring this out of me, kind of in your engagement with Rick Owens, I think in particular, where I was really drawn into the way that Rick Owens just his stuff looked so weird and impractical and all these amazing shapes, and I was oh, through this designer in particular, I can begin to see this not as my fucking Steely Dan shirt, which I love. It's why doesn't everyone wear a Steely Dan shirt? It's no, I can see this as an artistic and aesthetic form with purpose that trying to say oh, Rick Owens doesn't make clothes for the common person, why should we pay attention to it, is saying, oh, not everyone can own a Picasso, why can't why should we care?
Yeah.
And
ignoring its influence on your entire and your culture and your
totally
life,
100%. And this is and fashion, I think, especially with fast fashion now, but just always, maybe not always, but it's a mass reproducible art form. You could, he's sold out of these now, but you could go to Uniqlo and buy the same jeans that I'm wearing, and they would be pretty much the same, wherever, right? And so we're used to fashion being this practical, mass reproducible thing.
Well, it's interesting. This movie is, sorry, not to interrupt,
No,
but
please,
it's about the Prêt-à-Porter, fashion at Fashion Week. It's not about couture,
Yeah.
This is the ready-to-wear lines.
Yeah.
So
The stuff that's going to be marketed to Americans.
totally.
And the Americans don't give a shit about it.
No. Yeah.
I will say, the Texas oil guy,
The Lyle Lovett character.
the Lyle Lovett character, I love Lyle
we
Lovett.
made these boots. We put your symbol on there. Yeah.
I love Lyle Lovett.
Yeah.
Just as a look, as a person, I love his
Absolutely.
hair. He's great. His character does seem to have some sort of appreciation for, like, at least what high fashion represents, even though he just wants to profit off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say his cowboy boots are a uniquely American.
Well, an example
kind
of a beautiful American craftsmanship.
Exactly,
too.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like iconically, you know?
Yeah.
And this. We have been talking about this movie for an hour and 40 minutes or so. And, like, this is what is so frustrating to me about, like, this movie has essentially no reputation, but, like, I feel like it is roundly dismissed by people who are even visiting it today. And that, like, that steams my clams a little bit. Like, that, you know, we had the same thing with the movie we just previously covered on this show, After the Hunt, which I feel like is also just, like, kind of being roundly dismissed without being, like, taken seriously. It's kind of like people coming to this and going, like, what were you trying to do here? Like, yada, yada, yada. And, like, you know, you don't have to like either of these movies, but I feel like people are throwing them in the wastebasket before they've even, like, taken in the full meal. You know, they're throwing it away in mid-bite, almost. And
yeah, I heard some, like, I asked someone who's a critic at Screen Rant if they had seen After the Hunt yet, and they're like, no, but, like, I've heard really bad, you know, reviews about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm in the small proportion of people who liked it, but I can see how people how people didn't, you know, what they were saying was that it's, like, regressive for cancel culture. And
like, but the movie's not about cancel culture. I mean, like, of course that's an element of it because it's about, like, a sexual assault on a college campus. Of course that is something that is, like, going to come up in the process of that. But, like, to say that is the thrust of the movie is, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about that at all. It's not even about, like, a person or the people who would be getting canceled in the scenario. The Andrew Garfield character is, like, such a not a minor character, of course, but, like, he is the third lead of the movie, right? The movie is about the Julia Roberts character.
Yeah, and I think because it's a white woman, and it feels like it's like, on the surface, if you're to write a summary, it's sort of like, oh, cancel culture, white woman, rich white woman, redemption, arc, cancel culture. I think people just immediately dismiss it because the themes of it aren't, like, tidy, and that's, like, the best way to describe it. But
right, and I think, like, if you're looking at a movie by Luca Guadagnino or Robert Altman, like, you can't just go with the simplest interpretation of whatever it is that you're seeing. Like, I think both of those artists have earned a deeper view. When you're watching something by one of them, it's like, well, maybe your first, like, initial reaction to it should be more deeply considered. Maybe it's more complicated. And, like, the complaints I hear about After the Hunt, because I haven't heard any complaints about Prêt-à-Porter because people don't watch this movie, but, like, the complaints you hear about After the Hunt is like, oh, it's so simple, I didn't know what they were trying to say. And I'm like, what they're trying to say is, like, asking you to, like, dig into the characters and dig into the world that they are a part of.
To engage with fashion as an art form that's legitimate and worthy of being celebrated, appreciated, and criticized.
That has parts that are silly and has parts that are serious and expressive and has all these lives and all these worlds that kind of, like, revolve around it. Like, you can't, you know, again, like you were talking about, like, people trying to dismiss it as, like, a failed satire or something like that. And no one is accusing, like, After the Hunt of being a failed satire, but, like, I think really just, like, not trying to meet these works of art where they're at and going with, like, the simplest, most boring interpretation that they already decided it was before they engaged with it. That is, again, you don't have to like either of these movies, but I think they're doing it, like, a short service in both of these cases. I would like to, I want to turn to the Julia Roberts of it all just for a moment on the Run the Julias podcast. Obviously, not a huge character within the film, but I would maybe argue this is Julia Roberts' like funniest performance. She does like comedy in this movie. She does like physical comedy of like swapping out wine glasses.
The wine glasses scene is really funny.
She has the funniest thing Julia Roberts has ever done is in this movie when Tim Robbins is across the room and pops a bottle of champagne and Julia Roberts like does this like crazy cartoon face.
She does the Homer Simpson dud smile.
She goes like, it's so funny.
It's when you get the dud.
So wild.
Yeah.
And this is like, the whole plot line with her and Tim Robbins is like such a funny little like, oh, they've gone through the entire arc of a relationship in like a day because they're trapped in a hotel room together, right? Yeah. Is that like, you know, they have the initial attraction and then they start having sex and then they become very complacent in their relationship on like day 2. And you know, they end up divorcing. They end up going their separate ways at the end of the movie. But I think it's just like, it's a fun little lark of a romance story in the middle of this movie. But this movie is actually like surprisingly dense in Julia Roberts, the extended Julia Roberts universe. Of course, Lily Taylor from Mystic Pizza as the photographer in this movie. Rupert Everett as the French adulterer, who will of course go on to an iconic performance in My Best Friend's Wedding, and Julia Roberts' husband at this time, Lyle Lovett, is in this movie as well. Yeah. And I wonder, Lyle Lovett was in Shortcuts just the year previous, and is maybe that, but also Julia Roberts is in The Player in 1992. So I guess they're just famous people in the orbit of all of this at this time. But, you know, I completely forgotten in the Julia Roberts canon, but I think this is like a delightful little performance of hers that I would have liked to have seen more of throughout her career.
It's weird, like in this film, when I watched it, it almost felt like there's like a little rom-com within the rest of the film. And like, I obviously love this particular era of fashion, so I was just like, I would have been happy just watching like archival footage of all my guys, all my gals, like just seeing JPG up there, seeing Issey Miyake, I'm like foaming at the mouth, you know? So I'm like, I just kind of wanted to watch the Frederick Weissman version of this film where we're just like watching like a camera backstage, which this gave me a lot of. So then when it got to the rom-com stuff, I'm like, okay, let's get back to the clothes. I want to see nice pleats, you know. Like I was like, I don't get it. But what Yaari said about the kind of this being a representation of an American's interaction with the fashion world. I kind of love that analysis, and now it's given me new appreciation for these scenes. Because when I watched it, this and all the stuff about the stolen bags and all that, I was kind of like, it just felt silly to me in like an era of fashion that's so rich and intellectual. And I do like the way that one story connects to Russia. I think that's interesting. But all of the like bag stuff and like this, I was kind of like, what does this have to do with fashion?
Well,
I'll also say something that
but I like your analysis.
Something that comes to mind specifically about the Julia Roberts and Tim Robbins scenes is that what are they wearing in the majority of the scenes?
Bathrobes,
stained
sweatshirts.
They're naked. They're naked, right? They're completely absent of participation, even of fashion at all. Yeah. Like Julia Roberts comes in wearing a shirt that says like "World's Greatest Mom" or something,
and it's
like
covered in red wine stains on the front.
And like, say what you want, but that is an article of clothing.
Sure. Yeah.
And then that is discarded for every other scene except for her final scene where their final scene together, not the final scene of the movie, where their bags finally arrive and she's wearing like a power suit.
And her hair is like so specific to the time, and like Julia's at this era, whatever she was doing with her hair was always like super specific, and her hair here was like short, coiffed, styled very specifically. I'm realizing now that I was definitely a dumb American watching this. I was definitely in the category of dumb American, but I'm realizing that maybe the satire of this movie mostly exists in the Americans, like how the Americans interact with everything are like what's played for laughs or what is sort of made fun of, where the rest of it is grounded and the high fashion is more real, and then whatever the American perspective is sort of like silly rom-com, Kit Potter, all of that. So that
Well, I
really
think they
makes
apply
sense.
that to the fashion world as well. Like, you have the whole, like, Richard E. Grant, like, and his, like, wife or partner or whatever, like, the kind of whole incestuous, they're all the designers are sleeping with each other and all of that. I think that's a very, like, in-group for the fashion world kind of
definitely.
satire, and the kind of play with sexuality there. Like, I do think that satirical lens, when I think about it, it's like maybe evenly applied, but I do think the film ultimately ends on this like general veneration for fashion, and so I don't think it's like at the expense of like the meaning of fashion itself, right? Like, I don't think that's where the satire is.
The butt of the joke is not the fashion, like, oh, all these clothes are so expensive.
No, oh my God, that would be
that's
so dumb.
that's not the butt of the joke.
No.
And even like the Richard E. Grant, Forrest Whitaker, and both their partners like all swapping with each other, like that is an in-group joke. Like, anybody who's been in a theater troupe or an improv group or a band has at least witnessed some sort of thing.
It's just the incestuousness of an artistic community.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
the joke of that is, oh, this is maybe a bit familiar. Like, it's inevitable that they're all going to discover this, and it's also a bit, it's funny, like that this is something that's so familiar, and yet it's ridiculous and heightened that people in these circumstances do this kind of thing. But the butt of the joke is not the designers for being various shades of queer. The butt of the joke is not the designers, how serious they take their clothing. And the butt of the joke is not on the art itself.
No.
The butt of the joke is, oh, people in this kind of like gay theater community are all going to be like hooking up with each other. It do be like that.
I
I
it's
think that's the
ultimately
joke.
damning of the American film critic who cannot like look at this movie and see it as anything other than like a full-on satire. Cannot imagine that like we would just make a movie that exists inside what must be a very interesting world. I mean, Altman is the kind of guy who would like he went to a fashion show and he was like, well, there's stories here, there's characters here, like I can do this, you know, and it is like,
I think it finds joy in like the chaos of that world.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. And Altman's made movies about like ballet companies and, you know, an upstairs, downstairs, like, you know, rich British society. He's made movies set in all sorts of different worlds because he can find like the humanity everywhere. He can find like interesting people and interesting characters and interesting stories within these worlds. If there's a criticism of this movie, I will ultimately say it's that we've been talking for 2 hours and have not mentioned the main plot, this like murder mystery thing.
I don't care.
I don't care at all. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what was going on.
A damn ham sandwich.
Yeah.
And
Don't give a fuck.
I don't care like what the guy from 8.5 was doing, like robbing everybody's luggage. I don't care.
I
But
like
here's
that
the
he was
thing.
in it though.
Yeah.
I
It
will
is
say
fun.
That's a connection to fashion too. Like these like beautiful like iconic
Marcella
actors,
Mastroianni and
like,
Sophia Loren being the
Yeah.
center of that are
Those
two of the
Amela
most fashionable.
Mook or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
those are fashion icons.
Those are the
you
two of the most
know?
fashionable people who've ever existed.
Yeah.
You know? And also, if we didn't have that guy dying, we wouldn't have Sophia Loren's giant red hat in the
That's true.
in the funeral procession.
And that would be sad.
That would be sad,
is the
yes.
final scene of the
It'd be sad
movie.
if we didn't have
And
that.
so I think that stuff is worth it just so that Sophia Loren can wear she's in all black shrouds the whole movie, and then during the actual funeral, she's wearing the biggest red hat you've ever seen
So
in your
cool.
life. Like
Even Trump's can't has nothing on that.
Yeah, Trump wishes that he had a red hat this big. But no, the hat is literally the size of her entire body, and she's leading this gigantic procession of every fashion icon dressed in all black. Marcello Mastroianni is asleep on a park bench, but he's wearing like a black leather jacket and like a black sweater and black jeans, and he just gets up and joins the procession as if he's like a part of it, which he kind of is.
It is fun.
He
It's
is
a
as
fun
much-
bit. It's a
Yeah.
funny thing. I mean, like, I've said before that I think the best movie special effect will always be a lot of people in the same place. It will always just be like the thing that will make you like really sense scale is like, look at all these people that a film team assembled into the same place. So, like, the appeal of this movie is not, like, solving a murder mystery. The appeal of this movie is, like, how did Robert Altman convince all of these people to be here, to film in these places, film at the Kremlin and in Paris and, like, these different, like, how does one person do this and get all these real iconic people into this movie? Like, that is the appeal of watching this movie, is like, oh, Cher's here for a scene. Yeah. You know, she was in a Robert Altman movie 10 years ago. That means she might show up at any time in any movie. You know?
Do want to note it was, like, filmed on location at Paris Fashion Week, and even the Moscow locations were real locations.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
It actually did, like, go to these real places, which I, again, think, like, that in of itself holds a certain level of respect for this world.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm curious about, like, just the production, like, the actual piecing together of it, which I guess is maybe the magic of the film that we won't actually know. The magic of, like, making a movie is, like, could he have isolated, like, Thierry Mugler in a, for, like, 30 seconds to get an interview during actual Paris Fashion Week? Did he present it as a sort of, like, as a journalistic thing where she was coming up? Or did he, like, get all of those shots, like, 2 weeks later and just hired a bunch of extras to be busy around him? And it's like, you know, that's the kind of thing that, like, however he did it, I totally bought that this is the chaos of Paris Fashion Week, and this is the point.
Making the film would have, in a way, fit seamlessly into this world. One of the interesting cameos in this is Elsa Clench, who is, like, the Australian woman they show at one moment. She was kind of like the Kitty Porter, or whatever her name is, the character's name is. Like, she was a real version of that. She, like, hosted a CNN show about fashion. She was, like, this, like, American TV. I mean, she's Australian, but, you know, like, for American audiences, I believe, like, TV fashion personality. And they, like, include her in the film, which I think is an interesting, like, meta moment in the way. And so my point is, like, Kitty running around trying to interview people, like, no one would have been blinked an eye.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have been out of place there. That's just, like, the reality.
And you might have later
world.
gone, like, was that Kim Basinger? Did
like, but I don't know how it was done. Like, you know, of course, but I'm just saying, like, it would have fit seamlessly into the chaos.
It's kind
of the reality of it.
It's kind of a shame that this movie isn't more revered, because you know that somebody would have, like, put together, like, a whole, like,
I'm so
making
curious.
of, like, kind of thing about it if it was done on the scale of, like, a, well, it's not a Nashville and it's not a MASH, and it was, but if it was treated with that level, then we would know every single detail of how
100%.
This went down.
The thing about, like fashion freaks is, like, they're, like, obsessed with, like, everything, the history of fashion, especially this is such an iconic era. Like, I am surprised I, like, never came across this film, like, on Tumblr. You know what I mean? Like, and
it's
maybe
not
it was
regarded
it just
at
didn't
all. I should
come my
have.
way.
I have the Altman on Altman book. I should have read his interview.
But I mean,
It has
not
a
even among,
24%
like,
on
film.
Rotten Tomatoes. Like that, like, it literally has.
No, but
it's-
totally.
It has a 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
But I mean, people who, like, froth at the mouth for, like, a glimpse of Issey Miyake. Like, my point is, like, why, like, what? Maybe this did have a culty following within the fashion community, fashion world, but it never crossed my path, and I'm curious, like, maybe it did for others. Like, I could have imagined this having, like, you know, Tumblr fans, you know, and maybe it did, and I wasn't aware of it, but
I don't think so. I really think this is just, like, a movie that is not considered. I just truly, even within any context of fashion or Altman or 90s cinema or any of these canonical times.
A theory that I'm coming to is, like, so this is such a stacked cast.
Yeah.
And Altman is such a legendary director. But it's not such a big snub or flop that, like, people want to seek it out for the curiosity of it.
Yeah.
And it's not such a kind of like a statement on America the way that, like, Nashville is, that, like, grants it this kind of importance, that I think it, even though it has all these iconic people in it, it's maybe easy for it to slip under the rug for people who aren't Altman obsessives.
Julia Roberts podcasters.
or even fashion
Right.
obsessives, I've never heard anybody really talk about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is just kind of a lark. I think like maybe the tonality has something to do with that, is that it doesn't feel like important. It doesn't feel like I must like check this off the list.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he made a silly movie set during like Paris fashion.
Yeah, and I think the movie doesn't do itself any favors in terms of some of these like kind of sillier genre stuff that he plays with
Yeah.
like the comedy of errors of the bag, with the ham sandwich plot, which I think we're all maybe in agreement that these are the weakest elements
100%.
of the
Well, I
of
think
the
God
film.
killed him for eating.
For eating trafe.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that would have been interesting if God was a character in this.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Well, he's always a character.
Yeah.
I do want to hear everyone's thoughts on the final fashion show. I don't know. Have we talked about
on
that
the
yet?
naked.
The
fashion.
naked
I
folks?
would love to like kind of hear what everyone thinks of it.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, I like looking at a lot of naked people. I hate to say it, but I don't mind that. Yeah.
etc.
That's what I wanted to know.
Ha cha cha
That's what I was
is
asking.
what I'm saying.
Abadi, 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 abadi.
yeah. That's what I'm all about. No, it is like, I don't know. I don't know how seriously I'm supposed to take it, like within the context of the film. But the character, at least like the Kitty Potter's assistant, does kind of make a profound statement about it as it's happening. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting move. Does that have any relationship to something that happened in real life?
Well, it's funny. I was like trying to think of shows that you could compare this to. There's a really like famous show that kicked off the 90s that was like all white, and it was like groundbreaking. It was like, oh my god, all white. So like there were these moments of like almost like a gimmicky kind of thing that like set a trend or changed things. Like obviously I will say, connection to 90s, there was such an interest in minimalism at the time, and this is like the ultimate minimalism.
Sure, they're
And
not
I
wearing
think
any clothes at all.
There was an interest in deconstruction, 100%.
Feels like they're wearing nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Deconstruction, which this is obviously deconstructive. There was an interest in, kind of this like Bauhausian like search for like pure form or like functionality, and I think nudity fits into that. So I think it's like maybe in these ways connected to the reality of the time, but I think the ultimate connection isn't in terms of like which philosophy it fits into, but the fact that there's a reach for a philosophy at all, like this reach for this intellectualism, and like the show being a statement, not like look at the garment, but this is a statement. And I think like this is the kind of experimentation of the 90s that harkens back to experimentation in art in other eras. I was really reminded watching the scene of like a Yoko Ono show from the 70s where like the whole point of the show is she like put up all these posters that she's having a show at the Museum of Art. I think she called it the museum. Oh no, it was at MoMA, but I think she called it like the Museum of Modern Fart or something. But she put up all these. I do think that's
got
part of
him.
it.
She's so
Got
cool.
him.
Yoko
Got him.
Ono's
She
so
put up
cool.
all these posters, and then people came to the show, and when they got to the show, there was like no show. There was no show there.
She got their
And then,
ass
like,
Yeah.
when,
so good.
but
Double-
then she
double
would-
got 'em,
But then
double
she
got
would like
'em.
describe that the show was that she like released a jar of flies into the museum. Like, but
Triple got him.
But she didn't actually do that. It was like a completely conceptual show.
Oh my god.
But what's amazing is now if you go to the MoMA today, like, well, I don't know if it's currently on view, but it certainly has been in the past. Like, that's on view, and they have to find an interesting way to portray it, like with the text, wall text, or I think they put the poster from how she advertised it. But like, that was a work of art. It was a completely conceptual work of art. Applying that level of like conceptual art to fashion, this was a defining thing of the 90s, and a shift. And I think like in that way, like I think that show is kind of, is it like played for laughs at first? I don't know if it's played for laughs or not. I think it's like it's played for like you have Kitty wrestling with it and like failing to truly wrestle with it, and then you have someone coming in who's willing to do that. And I think like I don't know. I think that's what it's about.
And all
is, like,
all of the
finding
other
meaning.
designers find it genius too. All the other and that could be, depending on your point of view, you could think like, oh, these are all pretentious people who aren't even seeing clothes and think that it's genius, or all these other geniuses whose genius has been appreciated throughout the movie
Yeah.
also consider this.
But when I tell the story of Yoko Ono, like, I feel like we all, like your reactions, like, you guys love it. Like, it is amazing work of art.
Yeah.
And it does have this genuine reaction. And I think, like, allowing that to be applied to fashion and taking it out of something that's purely ornamental, purely frivolous, purely about beauty, like, this is the power of this moment in fashion. And I think, like, as silly as it is, I think this scene kind of conveys that idea. Like, as silly as it is, I do think it does.
It is like
I
the final
totally
moments of the movie, and it, at least in context, is treated as a triumph, and I don't read that as, like, satire.
So I have a bit of a devil's advocate point to make, which is not that, it's pretentious schlock. I don't think that. I think it actually works very successfully for all of the reasons that Halley's laid out. But I will say the choice to end the shot with the curtain closing and the brand name reveal, the Sophie Lowe reveal, I think is a bit of a bitter reminder that this whole conceptual art piece that we've just seen is related to a brand.
Is there to sell cowboy boots.
Is there to sell cowboy boots.
Oh, yeah, the cowboy boots.
Yeah. It's there to generate profit for people.
Or is she fighting against that it's just about cowboy boots?
Either way, who are the people that who are going to be getting the good press from it? Who are the people that there's going to be lines out the door for these boots? It's the brand that's seen as the curtain is being closed.
This is always the tension in fashion.
Of course,
that it is consumer in a way other forms of art are not.
Yeah, and
especially with ready-to-wear fashion.
Yeah, and I think that's, maybe a question that we can ask. I think it is shown as this triumphant moment, and even the designer and her assistant coming out in the buff as well to take the applause, and everybody applauding, and it feels very triumphant. But then I couldn't help feeling, as the Sophie Lowe logo was dropped down, that there was a bit of all of this art is there to get people to buy $500 boots.
Yeah.
$500 boots, I'm sure, is not expensive for the level of branding that it is. But, maybe that's the bitter American in me that wants there to be some sort of idealistic thing in it rather than a material reality of, okay, well, they're going to sell these boots, but is that so wrong that they want people to buy these boots? That's just a kind of a question that I'm having as I'm talking through it.
Yeah, it reminds me of that time Kendall Jenner gave a coppa Pepsi or whatever.
Yeah.
Ready to Wear, a movie that no one cares about, that everyone has dismissed,
well,
and this has all of this in it. I'm ready to reclaim.
Well, I'm ready to care.
Wow.
Hey. Wait, hold on. We didn't drop the theme of the month.
What's the theme? I don't
the
actually
theme of the
know.
month.
Alttober.
Welcome to Alttober.
Robert Alttober.
That's right.
Or,
bust
alt
out
comedy,
your skinny jeans, bust out your guy liner, bust out your black nail polish.
We're going alt.
I love that.
Well, no, I was saying it because we both participated separately in Nichols Vember last year.
Of course.
And
2 years ago.
2 years ago, that's right. And we should both be celebrating Robert Alttober.
Yeah.
Because
it's Alttober year round for me.
I'm with you.
Alttober, I actually like a little bit better.
Yeah.
Robert Alttober.
Alttober.
Robert
off the
Alttober.
Really easy to pronounce.
Yeah.
Even easier to spell.
Yeah.
Really clear. In the written form as well as the verbal.
Yeah, and I say Alttober, and everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a podcast discussing
one Robert Altman movie.
Well, she's in another Altman movie.
That's true.
You gotta
I guess
rush
we can
release.
get on it.
You gotta rush release that player.
Gotta get on
Let's
the
put the player on right
episode.
now, and then we do a double episode.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm down. I mean, I'm down to do that tomorrow because I have prior engagements. But we can rush. Another alt Julia.
Alttober.
I'm happy
down.
to do
Claire's
that.
a very interesting, fun movie. We can do that.
Happy to do that.
Altvember.
I saw one scene of it when I put on Criterion 24/7 as I was doing some work in the background, and I was like, "This is a movie I actually want to watch, and I don't
want to pay
see
attention to this.
I just don't want to see this one scene in the background, so I'm gonna skip it
Yeah, that's cool. It's another, like, huge ensemble movie. I mean, like, it's, you know, the 90s were a huge Altman comeback time. His 80s were a real lost period. He's very Pacino-like in that way, and then the 90s was a huge comeback
Was
time.
Popeye 80s?
Popeye was 1980.
Okay.
It was kind of the end, you know, he owns the 70s. He makes, like, truly, like, 15 movies in 10 years. So many of them are, like, still movies that we talk about
McCabe and
today.
Mrs. Miller, Gosford Park.
Gosford Park is the year 2000.
Oh, just kidding.
But,
Take that out. Take
The
that
Long
out.
Goodbye, Nashville, and then, like, even, like, forgotten movies that are still really cool, like Thieves Like Us or A Wedding.
Brewster
MASH,
McCloud.
of course, starts Brewster McCloud. He does all these, like, really interesting movies. He does a couple movies with, like, Paul Newman. Like, he just owned it. He ran the fucking table in the 70s, and then he got a little lost in the 80s, even though some of those movies are pretty good. And then the 90s, like, The Player, Shortcuts, and Prêt-à-Porter admittedly was not very renowned at the time, but, like, those are 3 movies in 3 years, and then he kind of, like, keeps going and keeps making interesting movies until he basically died making Prairie Home Companion.
That's
And
right. They needed a backup director.
Paul
for
Thomas
insurance,
Anderson was
yeah.
on set as, like, the understudy in case Robert Altman fucking died making Prairie Home Companion.
And Lindsay Lohan's in that movie,
Lindsay
right?
Lohan is in that movie. Meryl Streep, Garrison Keillor, Lily Tomlin.
This is my Prairie Home
Harrelson.
Companion.
The cat named Prairie that lives in your
Yeah.
home
Yep.
and is your companion.
Yep.
That's
Cat-
good. That's a good joke.
Cat is pointing at the cat named Prairie.
That's my Prairie Home Companion.
I don't think you don't release audio or video versions of this. You don't
Sure
release
don't.
audio versions of this.
No,
We've
not all this.
it's just gonna be.
This is a conceptual podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if there's a podcast with no noise? Enzo's really.
He's chiming in.
He's hungry.
He's
That's what's going
anti-noise.
on.
He's
I'm
anti-no
down
noise.
to push out the player. There's so many good people in this.
Hell yeah.
If you wanna push it
It's a
out
wonderful movie.
before the
Okay,
end of
yeah.
October,
Yeah.
I'm down.
Let's do it. Well, maybe not maybe October is actually November. You know?
We could
It's
think
like
of a different name.
Yeah.
What about like something about like autumn? Autumn.
Altum.
Yeah.
Altum is good. Yeah, welcome to Altum.
Yeah.
I like
Altum
that.
Is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, so we'll do it. Hell yeah, we'll do the player soon. Maybe with these same 2 people. I don't know. That'd be fun.
I'm not pitching us as
Yeah,
the
why
people to
not,
do
you
the
know?
player. I'm saying it would be a fun idea
Sure.
to
I
do
support it.
October, or we could do it next October if everyone is down to. Let's meet up in 1 year.
Wow, 1
this
year from
strange
At this
today.
very couch. And, we'll gather on how we've grown since last October.
Beautiful. Amazing. Sounds great. Yeah, we'll check in. Or it'll be a couple weeks. We'll
Yeah,
see.
or-
We'll see. Well, either one of those things could
Or you
happen.
could head up somebody else and have them do
Anything could
October.
happen. Amazing. But I do think we
Altum.
had the right guests for this episode. is
I
what
think
I'll
so
say.
too. And Hallie and I both have very different styles for approaching the Run the Julius podcast, which is Hallie's had her amazing detailed notes in front of her, and I am riffing and speaking.
Freeballing.
I'm freeballing it.
I mean, I really appreciate it because I would have brought a terrible take and a terrible vibe to if this was just me watching it with Kevin. So it was much appreciated because I would have just tarnished that. Terrible. Now I have so much to think about and chew on. Where before I'd just be like, nah, I'm too dumb for this. I'm Kitty.
It's a shame that Julia Roberts wasn't in Tar, because then you could have had an episode called "What in Tar Nation."
That would be good.
That would be good.
That could be a bonus app.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should just talk Tar. Kate Blanchett is someone that I would consider for
You
a
should
further
do.
iteration of this
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
Would definitely be on the list of people that we could look at and go like, is that something that we want to do?
Yes,
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah. Of course, my famous
and
pitch has
you
been
could-
Kirsten Dunst for a
you-
long time.
Ooh,
Instead,
that'd be
you
good.
could do a parody of Blank Check called Blank Shet.
Blank.
Oh god, enough with these.
These
word
portmanteaus.
I listened to my first episode of Blank Check the other day, the Mark
Wow.
Maron a Serious Man podcast, and I understand.
It's a good one. You get it now.
I understand what this is.
Yeah,
A movie
exactly.
podcast for movie
Exactly.
people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But movie people who like to have fun, who aren't going to be, like, super dry about it.
Yeah, I
you
think
know?
I bring sort of a campy, not as critical perspective to a lot of the movies as well, I think.
Definitely.
Kat, just so you know where all of our eye lines are right now, Enzo is digging in his litter box, and his dumps are stinky.
Stanky.
Fantastic.
So he might put a nice brown punctuation note on
Perfect.
on this.
Here we go.
Oh, there
Oh
he
no,
goes.
it's a P. It's a P.
Woo!
It's a P.
Crisis
Oh my
averted.
God.
Oh my god.
Well, but this is I think a decent time. We've gone for approximately the length of the movie that we're talking about, so I think it's as good a time as any.
And we've actually designed it so that you can listen to this as you
as a commentary.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've done the director's commentary track on this.
Yeah.
So please feel free to play this alongside the episode.
Feel free.
Yeah.
But
And it's
amazing.
much like a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon situation where when we talk about the Sesame Street Shakespeare thing, he might actually be taking his dump.
Okay.
When we talk about his... Hold on, let's...
No. No.
Hold on, let's hear it.
No, don't. Oh God.
he makes these terrible noises as they come out. I think he's doing it because nothing's really coming out. I think he's doing it because he's mad that it's lunchtime.
Yeah.
And he's not...
He's not eating lunch.
His
I
lunch
feel
isn't
that.
there.
I feel that very strongly, actually.
Yeah.
I could go for some lunch.
Yeah,
Let's
I
have
could
some
also
lunch.
go for some lunch.
Sounds great.
Cool.
Amazing. But either of our guests, besides the wonderful plugs that we've done throughout,
I'm gonna go wipe his bottom.
okay.
So
Cool,
I'll
cool.
shout into the microphone when it's time
please,
to.
please do.
He's a long hair cat. That's
But
why I'm
Halley,
wiping his
anything
bottom.
you want to share with the people, or where they can find you if you want them to find you?
Well, thank you both for having me.
Of course.
It's been a pleasure. You can find me on Instagram at I_love_carbonated_water. You can find me on my website, HalleyFreger.com. And that's all.
And that's it.
If you can hear me, adopt the cat Enzo. That's my plug. Is he's up for adoption and he's a really good boy. He's one of the sweetest cats I've ever met in my life. So adopt him. He's on Pet Finder at Enzo. I'm not really such a big fan of using social media anymore, except I only post on my Instagram close friends a lot. So you can follow me on Instagram if you like to.
You won't see
at
shit.
Yaari NT.
Yeah.
YAARINT. You can I just directed a short that we're in the process of editing.
Hell yeah.
Halley's actually editing the film. And Kevin has a credit in it as helping with set dressing.
It's true.
So that, hopefully the title is still going to be How to Rent a Room. And I don't know when that's going to be out, but keep your eyes peeled. And if it's retitled in the editing process, then you can ignore this. But I like the title, and I'm going to keep it.
There you go.
Kevin,
Who's
what
going to
kind
tell
of
you to change the title?
Kevin, what kind of
I
dressing
know
did you
it,
bring?
but if the this is going to be really I'm sounding like I'm yelling across the room.
You are.
If you know the edit can reveal anything. What if it's a movie that's just all, the shots of us going action and that's it?
Whoa.
Then maybe
Like
the
how-
movie could be called Action.
Like
I
how
don't
Luca
know.
Guadagnino calls cut at the end of After the Hunt. That's true.
Wow.
That
Terrible.
happens in the
That
movie.
well, the movie should have been called After the Cut. There's
true.
And it's
credits.
about it's about castration.
It's about castration. It's about a bris.
Back to my
After
silly
the cut.
joke, Kevin. What
Yes.
kind of dressing did you bring to the set? Did you bring ranch?
Oh,
Did you bring...
Caesar. Yeah.
I'll plug me. I'm going viral right now for a clip on crowd control, where while you, dear listeners who've been following our pod for a long time, know that I am a trans member of the Bush family, now the general public is finding out. There's been over 1 million views across all those social clips, and that's been weird and fun. I'm having a good time in the comments. I'm getting like a real snapshot of the
A meeting of the mind.
international psyche and what they think about trans people and in class.
Good things,
and,
I hope.
yeah, and assumptions and politics, and I'm really getting to kind of see what's up in there. I'm gonna stop soon. I'm giving myself like maybe one more day before I'm like,
Smart.
and we're done with that. But yeah, you can find me at gay, number 4, PowerPoint, gay 4 PowerPoint on Substack and on Instagram.
Hell yeah. Listeners already know TV's Kevin Lanigan everywhere. And Hogs to Slop is the other show. We're doing an episode on... It used to be Movies for Babies. Now it's Hogs to Slop. We're doing an episode on Frankenhooker this month. So get ready for that. Recording that on Tuesday. It will probably be uploaded before this episode, so you can listen to it. Just keep a lookout where we upload, approximately monthly, sometimes more, on this very feed. But we are not going to stop until we've talked about all of the Julia Roberts movies out there. Next time, maybe The Player. Could happen. Could be. But
That was very Trump cadence.
Maybe. Could be. Could happen. But until next time, if you have a chance to kiss either Forrest Whitaker or Richard E. Grant, I say go for it.
Oh wait, what did we all give it out of 5? Isn't that a
Yeah,
part
we
of it?
love to do. I have given it a 4 out of 5 both times that I watch
Wow.
it. I find it just completely enjoyable throughout.
I would also give it a 4 out of 5.
Nice. I give it 4 forks.
Isn't that the point of the podcast?
Yeah, to rate. We can introduce this now, 2+ years into the making of this show, or not. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lies, lies, you're telling me that you'll be true. Lies, lies, that's all I ever hear from you. Tears, tears, I shed a million tears for you. Tears, tears, and now you're loving someone new. Someday I'm gonna be happy, but I don't know when just now. Lies, lies, you're breaking my heart.
Tastes like you, but sweeter.
Please tell your friends about this show.
That was quite a show. Very entertaining. I want to live!
This has been a Talkback Podcast.